Cheevo, guys!
What up, guys? This is
Cheevo, guys!
back here again with another video. Today I'm going to be showing you guys some beta gameplay for Hotshot Racing on the Xbox One X. Now I know this is going to sound crazy, but the development for this game first started in 2010, 10 years ago. This game was published by Curve Digital and it was developed by Trevor Lay and his studio Lucky Mountain Games. Now eventually in 2018, Sumo Digital jumped on the project as well to help with some of the racing mechanics. Now if that sounds familiar, this is because this is a prominent developer, especially in the racing game industry. They previously developed games like Sonic All-Star Racing, Outrun 2006, and Split Second. Now, if you didn't notice already, this game is inspired by classic arcade racers like Sega Rally, Daytona USA, Virtual Racing, Cruisin' USA, and a lot of other classic arcade racers. Now, the game has a couple different game modes. We have Grand Prix, we have Single Race, we have Time Trial, and then we have Online. Now, with that being said, guys, there's a lot of good developers working on this game, so expect it to be pretty good. I know the graphics might throw you off a bit, but this is going to be an excellent arcade racer. Now, real quick before we dive into a race, I want to show you guys what the race shop looks like. This is where we can check out the different riders, the different vehicles, and then eventually you can customize your rider and your vehicle. Now, each racer has 4 different vehicles available, so there's actually a lot of vehicles in the game. There's quite the variety of characters as well. I think I'm going to choose Zing. He looks kind of like a daredevil, and I'm digging the daredevil look. But ultimately, it looks like we have about 8 characters total. I'm not sure if you can unlock any additional characters, but anyway, let's go ahead and dive into the Grand Prix mode. The classic Grand Prix mode, kind of like Mario Kart, reminds me a lot of Mario Kart story mode. So there's a couple different ones. There's the Tour, Pro Circuit, Racing Elite, and then Hotshot. Each of these Grand Prix have 4 individual tracks or races. So I'm going to go ahead and show you guys the Tour Grand Prix, and we're going to go on normal difficulty. And as I mentioned before, I'm definitely going to select Zing. I think that's how you say his name. But yeah, he has the daredevil look, and I'm digging that. So we're going to go with the daredevil character, and then we're going to pick the fastback vehicle. That seems to be pretty average in all of the categories, so I'm going to go with the one that's pretty normal and doesn't have any advantages in certain areas. I like a more balanced car. Now, I'm not too sure if you can get a head start boost or not. I'll have to do some more research on that. I do know that you can eventually gain some boost by drifting, and then you can press A to boost. Now, the creative director actually mentioned that the drifting mechanic was inspired by Split Second. So, for those of you that have played Split Second, the racing game that was released on the Xbox 360 and published by Disney, that game had excellent drifting. So, I gotta say, the drifting in this game is awesome. Personally, I feel a lot of these racing games have trouble with the drifting mechanics. I thought the best drifting was in Need for Speed Underground 2, if you guys have ever played that. The drifting in that game is my favorite drifting of all time. But, you know, Sumo Digital does a really good job of their drifting mechanic. It was really good in the Sonic All-Star Racing and the different Sonic kart games. And then, as I mentioned before, they also worked on Outrun 2006. So they've worked with, you know, an arcade style racer before. So it was really the perfect developer to collab with in terms of bringing someone on board. The game really does a good job of feeling like an old school arcade racer. I also love the low poly art style. It really makes it feel like you're playing a 90s racer like Cruisin' USA. I remember I used to go to Peter Piper and Chuck E. Cheese when I was little, and I used to play the Cruisin' USA games, and this really reminds me of that. Daytona USA was actually one of the last classic completion episodes I did. I worked on getting the full completion in Daytona USA, so if you guys are interested in getting the full 200 gamer score in that arcade game, I do have a guide available for that. Now with that being said, This game definitely reminds me of Daytona USA, at least the art style. They both have that low polygon art style. I gotta say, I'm really digging the vision of the creative director. He's doing a really good job with this game. I really enjoyed my time with the beta. The feel of the racing is really, really good. The boosting is good, the drifting is good, and the handling is great. The game doesn't take itself seriously, so the crashes, don't take you too off course or anything like that. It's a real good pick up and play racer, especially because it shares similar mechanics with other classic arcade racers and even modern kart racers. In a lot of these kart racers, you have to drift to gain boost, and it's the same thing here. You have to keep drifting to gain boost blocks, and eventually you can use those boost blocks to boost. So you can stack your boost blocks. I think you can gain like 4 or 5 and then use those consecutively, or you can just use one every time you load up your first block. Ultimately, depends on how you want to play. Now, the second level is here on the Area 41 level. I'm assuming this is a parody of Area 51. Looks like it's in the Nevada desert. Hey, maybe if we're lucky we'll see some aliens. I do like the variety of the tracks in the game as well. I mean, I'm just playing the beta, and it appeared that there were 16 different tracks total, because there was 4 different Grand Prix, and each of those had 4 different tracks. So, I don't know, I'd say that 16 tracks for an indie arcade racer is pretty good. Now, even if you find yourself running through the whole Grand Prix mode, there are 3 different difficulties total. You have normal, hard, and then expert. So, ultimately, you can play each of these Grand Prix 3 times. So, what's that? That's 16 times 3, 48 times, or 48 races to beat Grand Prix mode. But even after you beat that mode, you still have the time trial mode. And then I've heard that there's also some pretty cool online modes like Cops and Robbers. Now that mode sounds pretty legit. I'm definitely going to have to check that one out. Now, what I'm getting at here is that this game appears to have a lot of replayability. I mean, you have the Grand Prix mode, which you can play on 3 different difficulties. That's 48 races total. And then you have the time trials. And then ultimately, you have, an endless amount of play, during online. Now, you know me. Ultimately, what I'm interested in is, what are the achievements, bro? What are the trophies, bro? I'm definitely interested in seeing what the achievements are going to be for this game. I definitely see this, being a Games with Gold or Game Pass game eventually. This is definitely a game, like I said, anybody can pick up, whether you're into video games or not. This is a really easy game to play, and it can even be a fun game to play multiplayer on the couch with some friends or family, because I think it does have 4-player split screen, old school, so you can have 4 players, 4 controllers on one TV, just like back in the day. Alright guys, so far we got first place in the first 2 races, 2 more races to go. As I mentioned before, there are 4 races in each Grand Prix. Now, the third track in this circuit or Grand Prix is called Temple Drive. It appears to have a jungle theme to it. Now, I didn't get off to a good start because I went off to the side into the grass or mud or whatever you want to call it, and it appears that if you go off track, it slows you down, just like the classic arcade racer. So make sure that you stay on the road. You want to drift on every turn if you can, because ultimately you're going to gain boost that way, and the more boost you have, the more chances that you are going to take first place in the race. Now, I gotta say, that black car looks very similar to a Bugatti. I don't know how they got away with that, but I guess GTA does the same thing. They make these car models that look like real cars, but they just don't call them the real name. So, pretty cool. I'm sure all of these cars are, inspired by real cars, but they don't call them by the real names in this game because ultimately, you'd have to pay a licensing fee to license that car. Yeah, I see like that white car with the red stripes, that looks like a Ford GT. But as mentioned before, they call them by a different name in the game, so fair game. Sorry I keep crashing into walls, guys. It's just because it took a little bit getting used to on the drifting mechanic. But even with, crashing into a wall here or there, it doesn't totally slow you down too much. It reminds me kind of Need for Speed in terms of the crashing, the arcade crashing, it doesn't totally like wreck you like if you crash in Forza or something like that. You keep your momentum, which is really cool because, you know, then it stays fast paced and it keeps you paying attention. That's why I really like racers, is because you can't look down at your phone. You got to pay attention pretty much every second. And, you know, with some games I find myself, you know, looking at my phone and getting distracted. And racers do a good job of keeping me in that tunnel vision while playing the game, just because, you know, you got to pay attention 100% of the time when you're playing a racing game. I'm really hoping the achievements are ultimately pretty easy because I'm really interested in completing this game. As I mentioned before, I had a lot of fun playing this beta, and I'm definitely excited to play it once it fully releases. Hopefully there's no online achievements, because we all know nobody likes online achievements, because eventually, you know, it ruins the completions, because once the servers go down, the achievements are unobtainable and then the game isn't completable, and nobody likes that. Cough, Fable Anniversary, cough. Well, maybe that was Smart Glass related, but same thing, unobtainable achievements. Online, Smart Glass, Xbox 360 camera, whatever it is, unobtainable achievements suck. Alright guys, so this is the Castle Funfair track. This is the 4th track in the first circuit or Grand Prix. So we're going to go ahead and try to get the W on this one. That will get us 4 for 4 on the first place, and we'll definitely win this tournament or circuit. I'm really digging the level design. All of these tracks have a lot of detail into them. I mean, look at the environment, guys. All of that had to be designed by, you know, an artist, a 3D artist. You know, even with the low polygon style, those styles are still really hard to design in. I mean, I'm a graphic designer, and I can tell you right now, you know, pixel art, low poly art, all of these different art styles actually have a lot of trickery to them, and they're really hard to pull off. So a lot of respect to whoever the designers are. If you're watching this video, I definitely respect the design of the game. All of the levels have great variety, they look really cool, and they all do a good job of giving you that nostalgic feel, like if you're playing an old school arcade racer. Really, the only way I feel that I would feel more nostalgia than playing it right now is if I had a racing wheel. I mean, if I had a racing wheel playing this game, I swear I'd feel like I was back in Peter Piper or Chuck E. Cheese playing them old arcade racers. Speaking of old arcade racers, bring Rush back. LA Rush, Rush, whichever Rush game, bring Rush back. That was a great racing series. I'm actually really glad I remembered that game. I'm gonna have to do an episode of classic completions for that one. Oh, also they just released another arcade racer on consoles, guys. Unfortunately not on Xbox, but it did release on PS4 and Switch, and that is Star Wars Episode 1 Racer. They also had arcade versions of that game. I'm probably going to do a video on that, maybe a platinum trophy guide, so keep an eye out for that one, guys. Other than that, I got first place in all 4 races. Daredevil Zing got first place. Very nice. And who would have known? He has a cute little dog. I would say that's the Ratalaka dog. Actually, that is his dog, Ratalaka. That's just the achievement hunter speaking. Anyway, guys, that covers my gameplay or early preview for Hotshot Racing on Xbox One. As always, I appreciate you guys tuning in. If you enjoyed this video, please leave a comment and don't forget to like and subscribe.